Alrighty, guys, welcome back. This is episode 4 of Baseball and Whatever. And we are going to do a little bit of a special episode this week for our 4th episode. We are going to focus solely on Star Wars. Tomorrow is May the 4th. We are recording this on Monday. Yeah, Monday. So we're doing an all Star Wars episode because we are probably 3 of the biggest Star Wars nerds you will find. So there's Greg, there's Vinny. But before we get started, couple things. Don't forget, if you like what we are doing, feel free to hit like or subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Anchor or Spotify or Google Podcasts or Overcast or whatever place you want to listen to us. You have a variety of choices. You can find us on Twitter at baseball and what. Email is baseballandwhatever@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram page now because that's what all the cool people do, or so I've been told by my students. And that is baseball and whatever as well. So feel free to hit us up on any of those. And like I said, if you want to email us or send us a tweet, we will read it on the air. But let's get into it. I figure we'll start with like the first time we remember seeing a Star Wars movie. Who would like to start us off? Any volunteers? Greg, you look like you're ready because you have every single Star Wars video game known to man behind you. So I will. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Before we get started, Greg, in one word, can you describe your day as a Sox fan with Robert going down for 12 to 16 weeks?
Well, this is an explicit free podcast right now, isn't it, Justin? So can I just say the word, because I have 2 young kids. So I'm just going to go with the word poopy.
Okay. That works.
Very poopy news. Luis Robert, on the out for months, probably more Billy Hamilton and Adam Engel.
Nothing but the best.
In the words of Michael Scott, this is the worst. So.
You know what? Maybe the Sox will finally bring over Chris Bryant.
Hey,
ooh,
there you go.
I would love that. He'll probably play. He'll probably play center too.
Now that he's healthy,
he's an MVP now, so
he's hot right now.
Yeah.
He's KB is back at least for
player of the week.
So yeah, totally. I love.
There
KB.
you go. So there you go. All right. Well, there's your baseball minute. I know we're a baseball podcast, but the Cubs are not doing much better. The White Sox had a train wreck of a day today. So we figured we would take a break and talk about something more positive in our lives, and that is Star Wars. So like I was saying, if you guys are listening to the audio, Greg has, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Star Wars video games behind his rotating background. I'm jealous. I only have a Lego and a bobblehead, so I got a lot of work to do to compete with him. But Greg, tell us a little bit about when you first were getting into Star Wars, and then we'll jump to Vinny and we'll kind of see where this conversation takes us. Go ahead.
All right. Sounds good. Glad to be here with you, gentlemen. Happy Star Wars Day to everyone. So my first experience with Star Wars was The Empire Strikes Back. And it was on a VHS. Remember the old days when you record a movie off television?
Of course.
On a VHS player. I know that probably sounds ancient, but it was, I think my uncle recorded it. And I remember, I thought it was amazing. It was pretty good. You had to fast forward the commercials. I'm sure you remember all that and everything. But going back really quick, going years later, of course, I watched it several of times now. And actually, that TV release, it was ABC or NBC.
Okay,
they didn't take a lot out of it, which was really nice. Going back and look at that later. But I remember watching. Darth Vader versus Luke Skywalker lightsaber duel. Then Han Solo frozen in carbonite. The end of the movie, they going out to rescue him. Like, what happens? Because I didn't see Return of the Jedi till long time after. It was a cliffhanger for so many years. So, The Empire Strikes Back, VHS recording, first Star Wars movie, and that's how it kind of began for me. Snowballed right from there. It was like, this is the beginning,
the coolest
right
thing
here.
ever, right?
And I absolutely loved it. I don't remember being confused because I know, Obi-Wan's in the beginning. I'm just like, okay, I was a kid, it was like, ooh, who are they going to shoot next? So no, that was, I still remember, I think my dad might still have that VHS, still sitting around somewhere, which nice. I probably should get because that should be like a treasured thing right now. But
right?
that was my first Star Wars movie, The Empire Strikes Back on VHS.
Vinny, what about you?
Well, should I start off by saying I have a bad feeling about this?
Oh.
To kind of bring the good luck into
I was going to say you look a little short to be a stormtrooper, but you're the tallest one out of all three of us. So,
yep. No, I think the first time, gosh, we were talking about this, doing this show, and I was trying to remember back when I first experienced Star Wars. And to be honest, I feel like it's always been in my life since I can remember back.
Yeah, right.
Back when. But I think the first movie I saw was Return of the Jedi at my buddy's house on VHS, not taped from TV, but actual VHS.
Yeah.
That's the first one I can remember. So I had no idea, I didn't get to experience like the whole buildup of 1 and 2 into the Return of the Jedi, which, I mean, I was a kid at the time, so I didn't care. I was like, "Ooh, cool! The little bears are running around, mauling over these soldiers. Oh, that's cool." Now I look back at it now, and it's like, "Wow, that's kind of gruesome."
I wish I could go back to watching it and thinking the Ewoks were still cool. As a kid, I loved the end of that, and now it's like, oh, fast forward, skip. I don't want to see.
I was a huge Ewok fan.
Yeah.
Now they don't.
Justin, I'll be honest. I still am.
You still have a soft spot for him?
Yeah, I mean, you see them at the end of the movie and they're playing the drums on the stormtroopers' heads. I mean, what's better than that, right?
Yeah.
It's funny you bring that up, Vinny. I saw a tweet, it was probably from last week, and it was something along the lines of the Ewoks had a dress ready for Princess Leia at the end of Return of the Jedi. So does that mean they killed some woman and ate her, or they were just really good seamstresses, or, it made me think, and I'm like, oh, you could really go dark with that very quickly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, Vinny, just like you, my first one was Return of the Jedi as well. I remember it was on, God, I remember this clear as day. I don't know if that's sad or exciting, but it was on USA, which I remember was channel 40, I think, when I grew up in Oak Lawn. But I remember watching it. I was like, oh, yeah, it was the scene with the speeder bike chases through the forest on Endor and with the bike scout troopers. I'm sorry. And I remember turning to my dad. I'm like, what is this? This is the coolest thing ever. And he's like, oh, that's Star Wars, like nonchalantly, not a big deal to him. And I just remember like, oh my God, I have to see this entire thing. And I think they must have been running like a weekend, they must have had the rights to it. So they ran a couple of it. Absolutely loved it. I was like in awe. And then I remember that Christmas, it was like Star Wars heaven. Like I started getting the action figures. I had if you guys remember, like Micro Machines made stuff. So like I had the big Millennium Falcon, but it had the little Micro Machine characters you could put in there. Like I was all in from the get-go. I had like the foldable, it would look like Chewbacca's head or like the Stormtrooper helmet. And then you would open it up and it was like the little Micro Machine guys you could play with. Had that. And then I'm sure you guys are a little bit younger than me, so I don't know if you'll remember, but I remember then like the next year and a half was when they started building up the release for the 20th anniversary in the theaters. And I was like, oh my God, we have to go. I was 10 and I remember my parents took me to all three in the theaters. And I will never forget. It was like the trench run in A New Hope. And, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I look over and my dad's asleep in the theater, just passed out.
Sounds about right.
Just passed out.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, clearly this is meaning more to me, but, I appreciate that they took me and, they feigned interest, even though I know they probably weren't too interested in, a bunch of lasers and stuff going on. But, so, I mean, it's like you said, Vinny, it's amazing. Like I was 8 or 9 when I found it. You guys were relatively young too. It feels like it's just always been a part of our lives. And then, obviously to see it come back now in the prequels and the sequel trilogy and The Mandalorian and Rogue One and all these other things we'll get into. But I don't know. Where do you guys want to go from here? What would be a good jumping off point? Greg, what do you think?
I have a quick question for you guys, actually. So I saw The Empire Strikes Back first, and you guys saw Return of the Jedi. Now, when those movies were released, even back, when did Empire 80 and 83?
Yeah.
At the opening crawl, Empire Strikes Back said episode 5, and then Return of the Jedi said episode 6. Did that confuse you guys at all watching that for the first time? Those opening
I just
crawls?
remember seeing that and being like, okay. And I think I asked probably my mom. I remember asking her, I'm like, so did they make other ones? And she's like, no, they started, right in the middle. That's just how they filmed it. But then when word came out, I think was it 98 that they were filming episode 1. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to see what happens and how we got to this point. Oh God. And boy, was I wrong.
Yep.
But
that's when it clicked for me though. Cause I'm like, okay, now I can make sense of it. He's telling the story beforehand or whatever.
Which,
it was all
like,
kind
as
of
a
planned.
kid, I was like, oh man, that is so so punk rock. He's not even starting the story in the middle, at the beginning.
Right.
He's starting in the middle and then he's going backwards. Like, what a baller. Like, you know what I mean?
Because that wasn't really a popular thing. Like, origin stories were just, kind of like that was kind of like the origin of the origin story. You know? So
that might be the first time George Lucas has ever been called punk rock and a baller too, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there.
Probably.
What about, okay, so we're similar age. What was your take when you guys heard about the prequels coming out? Like, was there a pretty level of excitement for you guys? Were you more set with like, I got the original trilogy, I'm good, I don't need this new stuff? Or what did you guys think?
Go
ahead, Vinny.
Thoroughly excited I was all in on the Phantom of the Menace. Like,
as a kid, I was all in. I'm like, this is so great.
It was the first one I saw in theater, so I was like, everything leading up to that, I was just all in. Could not consume enough. Good thing there wasn't the internet, because I would have just sat in front of the computer the entire time leading up to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was all ready for it. Like, plus Weird Al came out with the it was the American Pie one, but it's about Anakin Skywalker.
Yes.
Dude, I'm gonna be a Jedi.
Yes.
Absolutely love that. And actually, that was my first concert ever.
No way.
Weird Al, and it was his
great first
that
concert,
CD, which was amazing.
Well, in kind of going along with the music for that opening run of the prequels, I remember in this would have been sixth grade band. I don't remember. Anyway, but we actually, our director, who he was probably in his early 60s, he got the rights for us to play Duel of the Fates in concert band. And that was one of our concert songs we would play for like the parents in school when we would do concerts. And I can't tell you how much of a badass I thought I was on my little trumpet, playing Duel of the Fates, and the music is just such a big part. I still remember watching Total Request live, and Duel of the Fates was on TRL with Carson Daly. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is a big deal. This is, Carson Daly's talking about Star Wars. I'm not a nerd. This is cool, but yeah, like John Williams and we could go on and on about the music, but I think that high point of Phantom Menace. And as a kid, I'm like, pod racing, that's cool. Darth Maul's got spikes, that's cool. Dual lightsaber, And then looking back, it's like, this movie's not great, but it looks better now compared to the sequel trilogy, in my opinion. I know there's others that like the sequel trilogy more, but
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead, jump in.
Can I speak on that? You mentioned the lightsaber duel. That is one of the. Because like you, Vinny, I saw Phantom Menace that was my first, Star Wars movie in the theaters, and I loved it. I'm still because it was that first Star Wars movie in the theaters. I'm still kind of a defender of that movie. Like, I'll still kind of, he was like, Liam Neeson, I mean, you can do without Jake Lloyd.
Obi-Wan's got a braid. It's cool.
Right. Yeah. I was like, okay, I can see it. But once they introduced that new style of lightsaber fighting, because remember in the original trilogy, I mean, it was fine, but
it was
slow. It was slow, but not knowing about what the prequels would eventually do, you're like, okay, there's a lot of heart, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of force being used in these fights. And then you saw that brief lightsaber fight between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon Jinn on Tatooine before they escape. I'm like, they're speeding it up a little bit. It's still kind of like the same, kind of the same fighting style, just kind of like ramped up a little bit. And then the final, the grand Jedi battle at the end, I'm like, holy cow, they're spinning these things, they're doing flips, they're flying everywhere. I'm like, that is awesome. I didn't think these guys could do that. Like, that was the first time I was like, okay, these Jedi can kick some ass.
That was like the equivalent of going from like the Revolutionary War fighting with muskets, standing in a line, shooting at each other, to like fighting with machine guns, and F-16. So no, that was such a cool. I still remember like that scene. And again, I don't understand the context of it. I'm sure if I went back and read up on it, but like, were those red force shields or doors, and they all open up, and then he runs in, and it was so good. So and then the fact that like I was like, oh, Darth Maul was so cool and he's dead. And then, to see him live on in other the cartoons. I haven't watched a lot of the Clone Wars. This summer, I think I might have to hit that and give that a check out. But I know he's in, watch Solo. I won't spoil anything. There might be an appearance.
Oh,
there.
it's been too long.
It's been too long. When I was watching Solo, and Solo overall, I like. I don't know if I would like go back to it right away to watch. It wouldn't be my first one to go back and watch. But the fact that they were able to incorporate so much stuff, some of it's pretty heavy-handed, like what's your last name? Oh, it's Solo because I'm always alone. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, could have done without that.
Could have done without some of the dialogue, but like the fact that they worked in Darth Maul at the end, I thought Woody Harrelson was awesome in that movie. I did not expect that at all. It was a decent movie. I enjoyed
it, especially since it had a really troubled production. So there were there was a point that Alden Ehrenreich, is that his name?
That sounds
played, Han?
Yes.
There was that thing that came out too, like he had to take acting classes or something because he was butchering
and then they brought in what's his name to finish Ron Howard.
Ron Howard.
Yeah, they brought in Ron Howard.
I forget who the first director was, but it had a troubled production.
It did.
What we got, I'd say was pretty solid.
I would gladly take that over any of the sequel trilogy movies, but that's just me. But I think
I would definitely go. I would go back and watch that one before any of the sequels.
Yes. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. I still remember. We don't need to spend much time talking about the sequel trilogy, but I will never forget. I think all three of us went to go see The Last Jedi, and we were still pretty high on Force Awakens at that point because it had potential. And I just remember us walking out of the theater for Last Jedi, and one of the people, they want us to take a survey, right, for the movie. And I just kind of walked to the side. I'm like, I don't know what I just watched. And granted, if I watched it again, I'm sure I could pick up some things that I did enjoy about that movie. But I just remember Greg's like, no, I can't answer a survey for you because I don't know what I just watched. And I just remember I was so mad leaving that theater after seeing that movie.
Saw. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
We saw The Last Jedi. That was out by me, right?
That was out by you. Yeah.
Where did we see The Force Awakens? Because we saw that all together. That was out by you, right?
That was out by me. It was like right before Christmas, I want to say.
Yeah.
Right?
So
right.
Yeah, because what was it? The Force Awakens came out. We saw that at Justin's, and then
we saw Rogue One together by my house.
Rogue One came out next Christmas, and we were out at Justin's for Christmas, and we watched that. Which, Greg, that was still probably one of the funniest in theater, like just reactions I think I've ever seen from somebody. Pretty much doing the what was it?
Like the Arsenio, like woo woo woo.
No, it wasn't that. He was clapping.
Oh, was he clapping? I don't remember.
Sherman Plum's mom
calling Hercules
in his seat. I remember so excited because Darth Vader came out.
I just remember sitting there and I'm like, okay, I know they're going to tie this into A New Hope somehow. I didn't know how, but. So let's talk about Rogue One. That is my favorite of the newest movies. That is probably my second favorite Star Wars movie of all time, behind A New Hope. And then I'd say the other two originals, and then Solo. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Rogue One though. So for what we're referencing, obviously, if you're listening and you guys weren't there, we were watching Rogue One, and we were it was awesome. It hit all the right notes. It tapped into that original trilogy so well. But that last scene where you see was Darth Vader's, was it his Star Destroyer? Sucks up the rebel. Was it a Corellian frigate? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Hammerhead frigate. I can't remember what it was, but it sucks it up. And then you see all the rebel guards running. They got the Death Star plans. They can't get through. And then all of a sudden that red lightsaber just turns on and the Vader theme plays. And I've never seen Greg. Greg was like a little kid at a toy store. It was amazing. So Greg, you want to what were you thinking at that time frame?
Well, can you still hear me on my microphone? I was having issues.
Yeah, you're a little muffled, but you're all right.
Okay. I think I lost my mic, so I defaulted to my other one.
Okay.
But that's all right. You can still hear me though, right?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Yep.
So
you're back now.
Oh, perfect. That moment, I knew we were going to have a Darth Vader moment.
Sure.
I didn't know what it was going to be. I thought it'd just be him, doing some force choking on someone or whatever else. So I remember I think I could probably tell you the seat number if I really tried, but it's kind of like one of those things like you remember where you were, it's like you remember where you were when the Bears took Mitch Trubisky and everything. So, so I remember I was sitting right next to you guys, and I remember they had the plans. I'm like, first I was thinking like, this is awesome because it kind of caught me off guard because I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. This all makes sense. This is how they got the plans.
Yep.
Galen Urso was behind everything, the whole design.
That was an awesome twist too, by the way. I loved that, the way they worked it. It was
fantastic. They took something, that people were like, oh yeah, why would they have this? I'm like, okay, they justified, Guy worked at Rogue and everything.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I remember the room dark and the door jammed. Yeah. I was like, you know what? Because of like, well, it didn't get stuck. I bet Vader's holding it shut.
Yeah, he's force
holding it. Yeah. He's force holding it. So then it darkened. Then you hear the breathing, and then I was just like, oh man, it's gonna go.
These guys are screwed.
The red lightsaber ignites. One of the guys goes open fire. I'm just clapping. I'm just holding my head
You were
down,
clapping. That's right. Yeah,
because I'm like, you have no shot. You have no shot. You're gone.
Yeah,
you're gone. The lightsaber.
And then you just see them screaming like, "Take the plans! Take the plans!" Yeah, that was
my favorite Star Wars scene. I thought it was like the first because Darth Vader was always the menacing figure in A New Hope.
And you never got to see him act like that.
You never got to see that level of, I don't think you ever saw that level of power with Darth Vader. Obviously in episode 3, he just gets a suit on,
it starts to develop.
He's crying over Padme in there. Yeah. And then once Empire Strikes Back came around, you find out, spoiler alert, he's Luke's father.
What?
But it was that moment was like, okay, that is like the Darth Vader, that we knew was there, that, capable of that power, but we never saw him move like that. We never saw him take out that many people all at once.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It was just so fantastically shot. I mean, he was just cutting those guys down left and right. It really did a great job showing you how powerful and dangerous he was, albeit it was, not even a 30-second scene, but, I think the length it was, that kind of just that short scene was just enough to stay in your memory forever. It certainly did with me. So,
well, here's okay. So this is a perfect time to ask you guys this question. So Rogue One, I love, and I do not want to admit how many times I've YouTubed this clip and watched it just because I love it. But the battle of Scarif, the space battle over Scarif when they're trying to take down the shield generator for the planet or whatever. That was so cool to me. Like, okay, so that I thought was awesome because it was like the first time we've seen like a modern technology run space battle with Star Wars, like they had space battles in the prequels and same thing with the sequel trilogy. Yeah, not so much, but like that was so cool. Like everything I envisioned like happening in the trench run, like when they're not showing the Death Star, like that's what I envisioned in my head was going on. So that brings me to this question is like for Star Wars, when you guys think of Star Wars, like what brings you to Star Wars? Like for me, like, yeah, the Jedi stuff, the lightsaber stuff is cool. But like for me, it's always been about like the ships and the space battles and like traveling from planet to planet. Like I've seen on Amazon, and I've been so close to buying this, but I can't justify it, is they literally have like encyclopedias of like all the different spaceships in Star Wars with like engineering diagrams of how each ship works and where like the light speed engine and the different engines are and stuff. Like I find that stuff fascinating. This is so nerdy and it's all fake. None of it's real. I am not an engineer. I'm the furthest thing from an engineer. But like, I love the spaceship, the starfighters. Like that's what I come to Star Wars for. So like, Vinny, what draws you in the most in terms of Star Wars? Like, what is it about? Like, what part of the series is what grabs you the most?
Gosh, I don't know. I would say, there's a lot that does. And Justin, to be honest, all that stuff is real. It happened a long time ago. Come on now.
In a galaxy far, far away. You're right.
Yeah. Gosh, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, I think a lot of the Jedi and the lightsabers, like I would love to own a lightsaber. That's probably the coolest thing. Plus, having force powers, like, to grab something and have it come to you would be awesome, or to push somebody away would be kind of fun too. But it's just a little of everything. Plus the games, like, really into those growing up too. It's just a little bit of everything, I think.
Okay. Greg, what about you?
Well, the games were certainly a huge part of it for me. You know, if you can't tell already. So
I don't know what you're talking
No,
about.
I don't think so.
I think especially because, you know, like you, Justin, the ships, you know, and the spacecraft and everything, like that was all, you know, when I played Rogue Squadron for Nintendo 64.
Oh yeah, that's
for the first time. Like that was actually one of the first flying, you know, video games I ever played.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is amazing. They had all the Star Wars ships, they had all the Star Wars locations and everything. So that really stuck out. And I followed that series, you know, all the way till it ended on excuse me,
64.
GameCube there.
Yeah.
And then when they started introducing the Battlefront games, which I know you guys loved, and they got some of the lightsaber fighting in there, because that was the other huge part of Star Wars for me, was just, you know, watching, you know, the martial arts and, you know, all the moves they would do you know, with the lightsaber battles, especially in the prequel trilogy, as they got, you know, faster, more intense.
Oh yeah. More like, choreographed too, right?
More choreographed too. And, you know, by episode 3 right there, I feel like they were a little over choreographed. I know the stunt coordinator was Nick Gillard, and I thought he did a fantastic job with episode 1. But I feel like Ray Park, who played Darth Maul, was a big part of that too, because instead, I mean, in the later episodes for me, I felt like it was a little too smooth, a little too you know, a little too, you know, planned out and everything, maybe a little too much of the twirls and spins and everything. Whereas episode 1, it didn't look perfect. I mean, it was faster, you know, intense, you know, the guys were sweating and everything, but their moves didn't look perfect, you know. That was the whole thing.
Kind of like it was almost, there was a little bit of improvisation or something, right?
Exactly, exactly. Which I loved, and I feel like Ray Park was a huge part of that. I think it was.
Yeah.
But the lightsaber, you know, battles in the movies, I think were I think that might be the biggest thing for me.
I know so when the prequel trilogy came out, I remember my parents bought me a lightsaber, one of the plastic ones to play with, and then of course my sister wanted one because I had one. And then we managed to convince like all the kids on the street to get lightsabers. And then like on the weekends, we would just go out in front, and we look like such nerds. We would go out, and like I was probably 7th grade maybe. And we would have lightsaber battles like out in our front lawn. The amount of time someone got whacked in the face or whacked in the arm, or what, you know, it always ended up stopping because someone got hurt, but we still did it every weekend. It was amazing. But going back to, I think, Vinny, you brought up the games. Is there one game in particular that like really stands out, or a couple games, Vinny, that stand out to you that you really liked as a kid?
Yeah. The Galactic Battlegrounds. You guys ever play that on the computer? It was like Age of Empires, but like Star Wars.
I know I've heard of it. I don't think I ever had it though. That sounds amazing.
Fantastic game. And it was like just right around. So it was essentially Age of Empires, but just Star Wars mod pretty much.
Okay.
And you could actually play people online, so like you could actually play your friends and battle them. So I did that like a ton. It was just like kind of at the beginning, so it was laggy, but it was still way too much fun. But that, and then the Battlefront games, I wasted so much time playing those. I can remember a lot of high school nights, Saturday nights, because I was really popular. Playing with my friends till the wee hours of the morning, playing Battlefront for the PS2.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Greg, what about you? Out of your plethora of games behind you, and I'm not making fun of you. I am genuinely impressed. I wish I would have done that. I should have done something similar. What would you say? I know you mentioned Rogue Squadron. Is there any others that kind of jump out at you that you really enjoyed?
Like you said, Rogue Squadron, Rogue Leader, and then Rebel Strike, which was kind of like the trilogy of those games. And then I'm gonna have to go with what you said too, Vinny. The original Battlefront game, especially like Battlefront 2, where they, you know, really brought in, you know, all the characters, all the characters.
That was PS2, right?
That was PS2.
Yeah,
I had it for PS2.
Okay.
Yeah,
that level on was it Mos Eisley?
Oh, I remember that one.
Where you could just be all the special characters and run around. That was the best.
Mm-hmm. That was a great game. And I feel like the newer ones are decent too. but I don't know if it's because I'm older and I'm just not as good. Like I consistently when I play those, because I want to say Battlefront 2 was free last year at some point on PS Plus, but
that's a game that kind of with all
it
the
bombed when it came out, and then they kind of were ripping all that out little by little. Like it's a good game now, but like I'm just not good at it. But I know for me, when I think Star Wars video games, there's a couple that come to mind. First off, I had for PlayStation 1, I had Rebel Assault 2. Did you guys ever hear of Rebel Assault 2?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
So this was it was almost like a interactive movie. They had filmed, they got all the props from Lucas or from the Skywalker Ranch or whatever, and they literally made like their own succinct, like contained story. And you played like a generic Luke Skywalker, and then in between clips, you would either fly a ship, they had a bunch of different flying missions, or you would do these like stop and shoot scenes where like you'd be hiding behind like a pillar, and then you'd push a button to pop out. You have to shoot the stormtroopers, pop back in, and then after you got through so many, they would go to the next scene. So I mean, it was a lot more movie, but like as a kid, like, oh my gosh, this is another Star Wars movie that doesn't have Han, Luke, Leia, or Chewbacca. It's got no one in it. It was so good. Like I still play that game probably once every couple of years just to get through it. But the other ones for me, we had a decent gaming PC as a kid, in Dark Forces 1 and 2, which was just like Doom, but reskinned as Star Wars.
Nice.
You played as, what was his name? Kyle Katarn. I don't know why I remember this, but I do. And that was really good. And then the last one I'll mention is, it was a fighting game. It was called Star Wars Masters of Therese Kasi. Have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
What was that for?
That was for PlayStation 1. So looking back, was it a good game? Probably not. But as a kid, like getting to have Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber fight against Han Solo or Boba Fett with a pistol.
Was that pretty much like Mortal Kombat, but Star Wars?
It was like a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but Star Wars.
I remember that I had that on a demo disc.
Okay.
And I played that. I played that probably till like disc broke.
It probably doesn't play well, but I loved it.
Skywalker and some other person who wasn't like in any of the movies.
Yeah.
But it was still like, I would just be Luke Skywalker and get the lightsaber out. It was so much fun.
And I remember I had a Game Shark, so I unlocked all the secret characters. There was some other bounty hunter named Jodo Cast who like, it was Boba Fett, but he had like a yellow and blue color scheme. So of course I had to like go on America Online and find out who the heck this character was, with my dial up. But what I loved about that is, so that was Masters of Terras Kasi, is they took that and they used that in Solo. And they said that was what one of the characters was trained in for fighting. So the fact that they referenced this probably not that great fighting game, they referenced it. And I think like probably 3 people got that reference. And I was one of them. I was so excited when I heard that in the game. I'm like, oh my God, I played that game. I knew that game. So that was a good one. Yeah, I could go on forever and ever. The one thing I want to stress, and I specifically put this in our show notes, is if you have not read any of the Star Wars books, I can probably hear my wife laughing upstairs right now. I have a whole shelf in our little extra spare bedroom that has all our bookshelves in it. I have a whole shelf devoted to all my Star Wars novels that I've bought over the years. There's way too many that I should mention, but there's an author. His name's Timothy Zahn. He's probably written about 9 Star Wars books now, but he wrote a trilogy. It was like a sequel trilogy to the original trilogy, and it was Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and Last Command, I think. I swear to God, if they would have done that series for the sequel trilogy, it would have been amazing. Like those books are so well done. I highly recommend. You could probably get them for like $5 on Amazon now. They are so good. Yeah, or you can borrow them from me. I have. So he did those 3, and then a couple years later he did another like dual. What would that be? A duology where it was 2 extra books continuing the story. And then he just recently, like in the last 5 years, went back and wrote another trilogy based on. Do you guys remember that character that they mentioned in Mandalorian? Admiral Thrawn. Do you remember the one episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So Thrawn started in this original trilogy he wrote back in like the late 80s, early 90s. So he wrote those 3, and it was all about Thrawn coming in and taking over for the Empire. And then he wrote, his little duology continuing the storyline. And then just in the last 5 years, he went back and did another trilogy, and it was all about how Thrawn got involved with the Empire. So I'm working my way. I'm done with 2 of them. I'm done with 2 of those books. I read those over the summer, and I got one more I got to read this spring. But then he just did he's doing another trilogy on the same Thrawn character, but it's more like his growing up on I think it's like they call it like the Outer Rim or like the unexplored territories or whatever, and that's why no one knows about these people. So highly, that's my soapbox. I'll get off of that now. But if you enjoy reading, either you guys just borrow them from me, or if you're listening to this podcast, go buy these, please. I have no one to talk to these about, but myself.
How many of these books have you read?
In general, since I was a kid? Well, I also, as a kid, I had the Young Jedi Knight series, which was all about Han Solo and Leia's kids becoming Jedi Knights and Luke trained them. So, which the sequel trilogy just ignored, but that's neither here nor there. So there was probably about 10 of those I had as a kid. Oh God, I probably got about 30 Star Wars books upstairs.
Nice.
There's also
I've only read one. I think it was in the 4th grade, if I can remember correctly. I still remember renting it, and the thing I loved about it was one of those adventure books. So you get to the end of the
choose your own adventure.
Page 50. I don't think I got to the right ending ever.
You got force choked by Vader.
My character kept getting killed off, and I was like, okay, I've had this book for a week, and I don't really like reading, so here's the book back.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about those. There's also the last book I'll mention. I don't know I can't remember the author now, but it's called Tales of the Bounty Hunters, and it's a story about Boba Fett, a story about Dengar, who was it's all the bounty hunters you see in Empire Strikes Back when he hires Boba Fett to go find Han Solo. There's the lizard guy, which is Bosk. I don't know if you guys remember him. And then there's Dengar, who is this guy that's wrapped in like bandages, and they explain why he's wrapped up. And then there's Boba Fett, and then there's Forlom and Zuckuss, and Zuckuss is a bounty hunter who he has to breathe through some apparatus. I can't remember why, but then he's got a bounty hunter, or he's got a droid named Forlom. And then there's IG-88, which is an assassin droid, which they kind of brought those back for Mandalorian. But I'm going to stop talking now so I don't sound like too much of a nerd to anyone who's listening to this.
Sorry, Justin. I had two things for you. I was actually gonna do something just like, hey, Justin, what are your favorite books? But you just took off from there. So, and that's okay.
Anything written by Tim Zahn in Star Wars, it's a gold mine. So I highly recommend it.
I have a quick story. I don't know if you remember this, Justin, when our wives went to Detroit for the Eminem concert, and it was right around that same time the Force Awakens was announced, or I don't remember if we had a trailer yet. We might have the announcement or the
something like that. Yeah.
Something. You were distinctly upset that they were basing it off the novels you read. And I said, Justin, we get a fresh new story here. And you said, I don't want a new story, Greg. I want this story. There's good stuff here.
Yeah.
So I remember that, and you know what? I should have believed, because you know what? You probably would have saved the sequel
franchise.
I will admit, and this was before I met my wife. This would have been like 2005, 2006. I was a freshman in college, and I was trying to be cool and meet girls and be the cool college freshman, which I don't even know if that's a thing. And I remember in the spring it would be warm out. So I commuted, so I didn't want to have to drive all the way across town to go back home when I had class in a half an hour. So I would, I'd find a spot like on the quad, just sit, chill out, relax. I had my, 2005 iPod earbuds in, thinking I was so cool. And I would read my Star Wars books, but because I was on campus and I had to appear like I was one of the cool kids, I would put the Star Wars book inside one of my textbooks, so it looked like I was just studying for class.
Oh.
True story. No one ever knew. I kid you not. And I like to think, Vinny, if your sister saw me in like went like this and knocks the book out of my hand, she never would have dated me. Never would have dated me. So,
Justin, just to clarify, they all knew you were reading Star Wars books.
You didn't fool anybody. You weren't fooling anybody.
I was the cool, quiet, mysterious guy that just had his earbuds in all the time on campus. So,
all right.
Or at least in my head, I was.
I have one more thing for you, Justin.
Sure.
When I first met you, you said you went on a radio station and you answered a trivia question and you answered it correctly. Do you want to go over that question really quick?
Right. Okay. Oh, good Lord. Okay. This was WGN Radio. Nick DiGilio. He was the overnight guy who I loved listening to at night, because I would listen to it when I would go to bed to try and fall asleep. And this was when, do you remember the PlayStation Portable, the PSP?
Yep.
Okay, this was when they were making movies for the PSP. I think they were on like little was it UMD discs? Does that sound right?
I think so.
Okay.
I just forgot about those.
And they had
mentioned.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that. But so he had this movie guy on, and they were giving away UMDs, and they were giving away a DVD copy of Revenge of the Sith. So it's like 1:00 in the morning on like a Saturday night. I got home from hanging out with whoever, whatever. And so I'm just sitting in my parents' house, listening to the radio. And they said, all right, Revenge of the Sith just came out on DVD. If you answer this question, you get the DVD, and we'll throw in Predator on UMD. Now, I did not have a PSP, so there was no way I could play this. But I'm like, I want Revenge of the Sith because that wasn't so bad. That was decent, right? So the question was, what type of resource do they mine for in the Cloud City of Bespin? Vinny, do you know what they mine for in the Cloud City of Bespin?
No, I'm ashamed.
All right. Well,
Greg does. Greg looks like he knows the answer.
The only reason I know is because I read the books. So that is why I know. Greg, do you remember what the answer was?
The answer is, and I'd just like to clarify that when you told me about this for the first time, mind you, I hadn't known you that long.
Yeah.
And if you remember, I knew the answer.
I know, and that's how I knew. I'm like, this is a friendship.
Because it was also it was a blink and you miss it in The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, that's
when
right.
Han Solo briefly mentions it, but the answer is Tabana Gas.
That's right, Tabana Gas.
And Han Solo briefly mentions it when they're looking at the map on the Millennium Falcon, and that's how I knew.
Yep.
Because movie quotes are just in my brain instead of actual.
And in your head, you're like, I can't marry into this family because my brother-in-law is going to be a nut job.
No, that was like, okay, this is where I belong.
All right, there you go. So I'm like, oh well, I'm sure so many people are going to know this. No, they literally, people are calling up. Is it Wookiees? I'm like, no, you idiot. It's not Wookiees. They weren't mining for Wookiees. I was so appalled. And then someone called up and it's like, I don't know. Was it, it was some other bogus.
They're just rattling off Star Wars.
Was it lightsabers? Or was it lasers? I'm like, oh my God, these people are so stupid. So I ran and got my my little, flip up with the keyboard phone and made the phone call to WGN. And I'm like, I got through. And I'm like, it's Tabana Gas. It's Tabana Gas. And I remember the host, his name was Nick. He goes, yeah, what? Why do you know this?
Yeah.
He's like, are you single? And I think at the time I had a girlfriend. I'm like, no, but she doesn't know I'm calling.
I will be soon. So
I will be soon. So yeah, that is my claim to fame. That is how I got Revenge of the Sith, which I don't think I've watched. And I got that probably in 2005. I have not watched it. I think it's still sitting in the plastic wrap on my DVD case. So yeah, but I don't know. See, this is what makes me realize like this is such an important, and again, I totally understand this series is not for anybody or for everybody. I have begged Erica to watch Star Wars with me and try and explain it. And I've only gotten her to watch Force Awakens, and I regret showing her that one because it's not that good. But like just the fact that we have all these, stories like, Vinny, you going over to see the VHS, or, Greg playing the games, or me calling into a radio station or pretending to be cool on campus. Like that it just shows you like this series has been around for such a long time and there's been ups and downs, a lot of roller coaster rides, but like, even when it's bad, like you can still look back to like the original trilogy and what got you into it. Like, and it kind of like, it's a part of your, I don't want to say it's a part of your identity because that sounds really hyperbolic, but like, there's something about it that it's like, yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan. Like, this is my thing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, I don't know. Any other things you guys would like to talk about? I know we didn't really even talk about the old trilogy or favorite characters, or we didn't. The Mandalorian is amazing. I just want to stress that final scene in the last season of Mandalorian.
Yes.
Like, Greg, I had the same reaction when I saw the X-wing come through, fly by. I'm like, oh my God.
Couldn't believe
they did it. They brought him back.
Couldn't
and like
believe it.
in the CGI for the face, was it perfect? No, but it was doable. And
you know what? I forgave it for what the scene did. Just like you forgive it.
Right.
I forgive you for that terrible CGI because you have, the Star Wars theory guy who was in tears.
They had the guts to actually do that, right?
So it was
the fact
amazing.
That the Mark Hamill was like all on board and was so excited about it on Twitter. Like, it made me so happy because you can tell like he takes Luke Skywalker to heart. He takes playing the Joker in all the games and animated shows to heart. Like, it was so cool to see someone that is that close to the character get that excited. But
you always want to see, you know, people who are in such a beloved franchise, you know, come back and, you know, be part of the fan base, you know, support the series, you know, you just pretty much play the game, not like, you know, Harrison Ford or anything.
Well, and Ryan Johnson did him so dirty in Last Jedi.
Yeah,
that was so stupid.
Because of the way things ended, I mean, it was great to see him kind of come back and be back on board. But Greg, you know, just that scene was pretty much just like what Rogue One did for Vader. That's what that
I agree.
For
Spot
me,
on.
like for Luke Skywalker.
Totally agree.
Spot on.
100%.
Didn't get to see any of that really in the first, or I should say the 3, 4, and 5. You didn't get to see any of that. And then you get to see it in Mandalorian. It was just absolutely amazing, that scene.
Well, just getting back to the Mandalorian quick, I mean, you know, I won't rag on the sequels, at least tonight, but
we can save that for another portion.
You know, I was telling you guys after the Rise of Skywalker, that one was almost damaging. You know, just like, you know what, I felt insulted after going to see that movie on a Monday night at like midnight. I'd work the next day. I'm like, you know what? Unfortunately, couldn't see it together, obviously, because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But like, you know what? I gotta see it because Justin's ready to die right now. So I gotta do it for him at least because he needs to talk about it.
So I just remember I saw it, and I remember I came away the first time I saw it. I genuinely liked it. I just remember, like,
you know, I'm sorry, a couple people, well, more than a lot of people I talked to were in the same boat as you.
Like,
Justin.
I can't. So I remember I left the theater and I went with one of my buddies and his two sons, and we left. And I'm like, yeah, it was all right. Like, that wasn't bad, right? And I just he kind of looked at me. He's like, no, that was not good. I said, but it was better than Last Jedi. And he goes, yeah, but you know, that's like comparing two horrible deaths that you're gonna, you know, witness. Like, you don't want to witness either one. And I'm like, no, it wasn't that bad. Like, it had Lando. It was cool. Like, you know, and the more I thought about it, and I'm like, they brought the Emperor back. That's cool. And then I kind of thought about it. And then Greg, you saw it. And then Vinny, you saw it. And the more I talked about it with you guys, like, the angrier I got at myself for liking it. I'm like, no, this movie sucked. What was I talking about? So,
Greg's initial reaction to it, because I saw it well after you guys. I didn't see it in theaters because Greg's initial review, all he said was, that was awful. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to waste any money on this. Like,
no, good call.
The pandemic hit, and then they were going to release it on video, and then they sped up the release because of the pandemic.
Right.
And so I think it ended up coming out on May the 4th or maybe a month earlier. That might have been the case. But I remember sitting downstairs watching it, and I just remember after I got done watching, and I was like, what? I pretty much had Greg's reaction after The Last Jedi. What did I just watch? Like, that was awful.
Like, the thing that upset me the most, and maybe this is like rose-colored glasses thinking about the original trilogy, and we can go back talking about that for the final like 10 minutes or whatever, because we need to end on a positive. But the thing that upset me so much with The Last Jedi was, okay, and again, maybe I missed something in the expanded universe that I didn't read. You know, I know it's hard to believe, but okay, so you have Force Awakens, the New Republic, the rebellion has formed the New Republic. They have taken over. They're in control of most of the galaxy. Okay, now you have the First Order come in. They've magically turned a whole planet into a destructive base. And then after they destroy said base, the next movie, the New Republic is down to like 2 planets and like one fleet of ships. It's like, what the hell happened? Where did everybody go? Yeah. And then the whole movie is just like a car ride where they're just chasing them in space. I'm like, what do you mean you're chasing them in space? Like, you know what I mean? And then they did I can't remember what the maneuver was where they turned the ship around and went light speed through. I'm like, oh God, okay, whatever. But
you mean the only decent scene?
Yeah,
in the movie. Is that the one, The Last Jedi you're talking about?
Yes, The Last Jedi. Yes. Yeah. But enough of failures. Before we wrap up, you guys want to go around and like just kind of say your favorite characters, you know, top 3 movies. We don't have to do a countdown, but Vinny, you want to start with like, who are your favorite? If you had to pick 3 characters out of Star Wars, just the universe in general, who would you pick as your top 3?
Boba Fett, Mace Windu, and The Mandalorian.
Ooh, Mace Windu, the purple lightsaber, right? I
yeah.
mean,
He needs to have his own standalone movie.
I would like that. I think
I'd
that'd
be
be
down
pretty
for
cool.
that.
Yeah.
Or like
Prequels didn't do him justice.
if you did something like where after he got blown out of the window,
Yeah.
he somehow survived the fall and
I was
kid.
really hoping he was going to be the Jedi to come get the.
That would have been
baby.
cool. That would have been
Yeah.
pretty cool. All right, so we got Mace Windu, Boba Fett, and Mandalorian. Greg, what about you? Top 3 characters. Who would you go with?
Well, I definitely would go with the Mandalorian because my love for Star Wars is back, and the Mandalorian's a huge part of that. I absolutely love that show, and he's a great character. One of my favorite characters is actually a Sith Lord, and that's Darth Maul. And he was, like I said, episode 1 and then Solo. But like I said, what he did with that, double-edged lightsaber against, I mean, that stuck with me as a kid, and even now I'm like just seeing that battle. I'm like, that's what Star Wars meant to me, for a very long time, that scene. So I'm a big I'm just gonna go with more popular. I'm gonna go with Obi-Wan. Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, Alex Guinness, obviously a legend.
Great, yeah.
But with some of the with some of George Lucas's screenplay and script from the prequel trilogy was pretty rough. Some of those lines, I'm like, you're not giving the actors.
He single-handedly saved that movie.
What he did with those lines and that character, I mean, the acting was fantastic. I feel like he saved it almost in a way, and now we have a series with him coming up that we're looking forward to. I mean, that's one of the things about the prequels. We rag on it whatsoever, but defending Lucas, he still wrote the great story. It wasn't executed the greatest, with obviously the screenplay and whatsoever, maybe some of the direction, but the stories there we love, which
there's
is why,
there's a continued idea. It wasn't, hey, let's write a story and then have a completely different director direct the sequel. Like that was that was a mistake.
I mean, it's to the point where where they're kind of they're bringing it all back. They're bringing it all back for full circle. They're bringing, Ewan McGregor back, and we're just excited.
Yeah.
We ragged on the prequels, like I said before, but all these people are coming back now. It's like, hell yeah, we're in right now.
Yeah.
So
and I'm so excited for that miniseries. I know it's going to be really short. I don't think it's going to be very long, but that Obi-Wan series is going to be
totally. I want to give one last shout out to Stormtrooper TR-8R from The Force Awakens, the one who has his little thing that he.
What was that? I don't even know what that thing was called.
I was hoping you would know, Justin.
No,
Justin,
I know what I must have ordered the wrong Star Wars encyclopedia. I don't have that one.
Here's a character they tried, the Finn, that they try to make, the next Han Solo or something. He's carrying a lightsaber. He has he doesn't know how to use it, but he has a lightsaber, and he's facing a stormtrooper with a little thing, and he's getting beaten up. So hats off to TR-8R. Great. One of the best stories.
I'm impressed that his call numbers. That's awesome, man. That's impressive. What about Greg? What about for you? If you had to pick your top 3 movies, what would be your top 3?
That would be, in no particular order, would be A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Star Wars Rogue One.
Good call.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For my 3 characters, oh man. All right, I gotta go Luke Skywalker, number 1. As a kid, I thought he was kind of a goof, kind of like, oh, you're a farm boy from Tatooine. Grow up, you bum. No, like as a kid, I loved Han Solo. But now as an adult, it's like, Luke was kind of cool. I liked his more patience and not so brashness, I guess. And there's so many good one-liners in that first movie when they're in the detention center with Han Solo and he's, you're a little short for a stormtrooper. He gets sucked in down the garbage disposal thing, all that stuff. So he's my number 1. Can
I ask you a quick question about
Luke
Skywalker, Justin?
Yeah.
Would you have liked to see in the sequel trilogy, say, Luke didn't, become one with the Force in The Last Jedi? I'm not going to say he died because, I hate.
Would I have liked him to live on? You mean, or
would you have liked him to live on in his last scene in the sequel trilogy? Be him going to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters from someone.
And then go Womp Ranch shooting in his Sky 6.
Yeah.
Totally. He's retired Jedi.
He
did whatever. I don't know.
That angered me.
Just becomes a farmer.
Yeah.
Why not?
These moisture evaporators are.
Yeah.
No, like that it's just like there was no my whole thing with any movie series is like if you set up precedent, you need to follow that. So the fact that he does this force projection, which has never been talked about, at least in my knowledge, which whatever, fine, you want to give him some new power because he's so good, great, I get that. But then after that, he just disappears. Like he wasn't killed. He wasn't attacked. He wasn't even there fighting Kylo Ren. So like, are they trying to say, like, I get they're trying to say, oh, it took so much energy out of him. He gave himself to the Force. Like, I hated that. I thought that was so dumb. So yeah, you literally could have said he decided to go to the track and bet all his credits on horse racing in whatever Star Wars universe it is. And I would have said, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. It's better than him just disappearing like a ghost. But
hold on. Didn't Obi-Wan though pretty much just vanish?
I guess you're right. But at least he got hit with a lightsaber like that.
But did he get hit with a lightsaber though?
Or did he give up?
He would have gotten cut in half.
Yeah. Like he would have been cauterized.
His robe just dropped.
No.
All right, good point, Vinny. I did not think you just blasted a hole in the star in the time continuum.
I'm just saying.
Makes sense. I'm gonna think about this. I might have to write. That could be my master's thesis. Forget the educational technology. It can be all about that. So I got to go Luke Skywalker. All right, because I've read all the books, I got to go Grand Admiral Thrawn. He is such a cool character. He's so They portray him in all the books. He's just so like, I wouldn't say conniving. Like you almost like the character because he's very like, not by the book, but like everything has to be for the good of the cause, right? Like, he balances what he wants to do for the Empire, but then he also tries to balance it out with where his homeland is from because the Empire doesn't really do a whole lot with his homeland and he wants to keep it that way. So like I said, I can't say enough good things about those books and the way they end him up. He becomes more villainous in the books, but these new books that they wrote, which is more about his early beginnings, it's really cool because he's very green, I guess you would say.
Can I ask you a question about?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Sorry to keep interrupting you, Justin.
No,
I see all these.
This is the first time I've ever gotten to talk about any of the novels, so I'm all ears, Greg.
You're the Grand Admiral Thrawn expert. I'm seeing all these things about possibly Benedict Cumberbatch.
I did see that. Yes,
in some sort of series. How would you feel about that?
I would be okay with that. Like Benedict Cumberbatch strikes me as somebody who's very like his acting style is very like stoic, which that's like that whole character. I would also wait a minute, I'm drawing a blank now. Benedict Cumberbatch is the guy that plays Doctor Strange, right?
Doctor Strange, yeah.
Okay, because I just had a complete brain cramp. I was going to say whoever plays Doctor Strange would be the perfect character for Thrawn. I need to brush up on my Marvel. You got some books I can read for Marvel, guys?
Movies.
Watch it. I still need to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I haven't watched it. I've watched 0 episodes.
It's good.
And then I'd say my last character. Oh gosh, to be honest, I got to go Boba Fett. I know in the original movies, they don't really give him any screen time, but the fact that they were able to bring him back in The Mandalorian and they made that character like so cool. The fact that they
so cool,
significant or consistently used. I can't think of the actor. What's the actor's name that played Boba and
Tamura Morrison,
like
New Zealand actor.
New Zealand guy. The fact that they brought him back, got him to play, the clone that became Boba Fett, and in like that last, we've talked about it already, but that last episode where he's in the Slave One, and the fact that they showed what the inside of the Slave One is and how it rotates, like I was like a little kid again. But like, the whole routine with, he's got to make it look like he's shooting at them. And he's like, keep your shields up. I can make this look realistic. Like that is Boba Fett. Right. So those three would probably be my top three, but yeah.
Can I interrupt you one more time, Justin?
Sure.
Getting back to Boba Fett and Slave One.
Yes.
And the Mandalorian in general. I will say a second like freak out of excitement moment I had was was when they infiltrate the when they infiltrate that planet to what do they steal? When he's with
Bill Burr?
When he's with Bill Burr? Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't think of his name.
Yeah.
And then they finally escape. I'm just kind of fast forwarding quick. Yeah. They escape through Slave One.
Yeah.
And then he drops a seismic charge.
That sound is like ingrained. Yeah.
It's like another thing, we rag on the prequels, but they did that before they landed on Geonosis. I'm just like that continuity, that call back to that. I thought that
Well,
was fantastic.
and I think Greg, I think it was Greg that said this. It goes back to that idea of that continuity that Lucas had set up with. Okay, granted, the prequels not the best, but like even Attack of the Clones, which I will honestly say I do not like that movie very much at all.
Me either.
But like the fact that you got to see, okay, here's Boba Fett's backstory. Here's his dad. Now, what does Boba Fett become? Why does he become a bounty hunter? And you see, okay, well, his dad got, capped pretty quick. He gets beheaded, doesn't he? Does his dad get beheaded? Okay.
Yeah.
It's like by Mace Windu. Yeah. So like seeing that, like, even though I don't like the movie, there's parts of the prequels that you can pull out and be like, you know what, that's cool. And the fact that these newer shows on Disney Plus are tying into those. Granted, I know this is like pure marketing, and they're totally playing to our generation because they know we're the ones that are going to remember this stuff. But like, I'm all for it. Like, keep giving it to me. That's fine. So, all right. Well, to be honest, guys, I could sit here and talk for like another 2 hours about this stuff, but we will have to wrap it up because I know we all have work tomorrow. I have to edit this so it's up in time for tomorrow, May the 4th. Is there any parting shots, any other things that we did not get to today? I'm sure we will be talking about Star Wars again down the road, but Vinnie, is there anything else Star Wars related you'd like to share that you enjoy, you love, you hate, you want to remind people of? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you guys did see that Simpsons is coming out with their report tomorrow.
Yeah,
I did see that. Yeah.
The Force Awakens from It's a Nap. So it'll be interesting to see what that's about. But one thing I guess we didn't touch on was the Family Guy.
Oh, that is so good.
Watch any of those?
Oh,
I've watched some of those.
I think I still have it actually.
Yeah,
so.
I think I got one or two of them. Those were absolutely fantastic. Absolutely love those.
Those are really good, and I love the Robot Chicken Star Wars episodes too.
I've heard those are good too.
Yep.
There's some really good. I'll have to text message some YouTube clips to you guys. There's some good stuff in there, but yeah, the Family Guy, completely agree, Vinny. Those are very good. All right, cool. Greg, parting shots, last comments.
Yeah, one last thing. Going back to the original trilogy. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I know it's on. I have it on DVD with one of the many Star Wars trilogies that I have, but I'm pretty sure it's on Disney Plus. The original or the Empire of Dreams documentary that was done on the. It was just the original trilogy, and then it ended with just kind of like developing the technology, the CGI that would play into the prequel trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like I think it's almost not quite 3 hours. It's a very long documentary, but it is just fantastic. It's all about the original trilogy. What Lucas had to go through, the casting, the production. Just pretty much everything involved, the reception of the original movie. Obviously, it's one of my favorite, I'm not a big documentary guy.
Sure.
I love, it's called The Empire of Dreams. Go check that out. Give it a watch next time you have a chance. You will thoroughly enjoy it if you're a Star Wars fan.
Awesome. I will. I did not know about that. I will definitely check that out, especially if it's the original trilogy. That's my jam right there.
Yeah,
so
no, it's really good stuff.
All right, cool. Well, I unfortunately I'm exhausted. I got nothing left to say. So I have a feeling I'm sure down the road when we have our regular edition of baseball and whatever, there will be another. Maybe we'll do a deep dive on each individual movie or something like that. Like if we could all watch the movie and then talk about things we noticed or picked up on. So this will not be the
time.
Yes. See, we just improved our YouTube search algorithm by including movie reviews. We can do some video game reviews too. We can figure that out eventually. All right. Well, on that note, I got nothing left. Greg and Vinny, thank you very much. Don't forget, like and subscribe on YouTube, Baseball and Whatever. We are on Twitter at Baseball and What, Instagram at Baseball and Whatever. And again, still waiting for an email, baseballandwhatever@gmail.com. Greg will read every email, regardless how bad or how nice it is.
That's right. And we have some listenership in Canada.
We do,
don't we?
So thanks to Anchor, we now have we are I want to say worldwide. We are North American wide. We have Canada viewership. I saw today, I was checking, we have listeners in Illinois, of course, because we're based out of Chicago. We have listeners in Wisconsin. Vinny, you're in Wisconsin. We have listeners in Virginia, Colorado, Michigan, Washington State, Florida, all over the place. So if you're listening, please tell us what you're listening, what you'd like us to cover. If you have whatever topic you'd like us to talk about, and if we know something about it, we could always talk about that too. We are open to ideas. We also have a couple new guests in the pipeline. I won't get too far ahead of myself and go over my skis in case something falls through, but
just stay in tune, really.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. If you're a fan of Batman, we got some cool stuff in the works. If you're a fan of Mighty Ducks, there might be something in the works there. And probably the thing I'm most excited about, no, I shouldn't say that. I'm excited about all of them. But if you are a fan of video games, if this works out, this would be huge for us. So that's all I'll say. I'll leave you guys wanting a little bit more. But on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 4 of Baseball and Whatever. And I'm going to end the show with my best Alec Guinness impersonation. You guys ready?
Uh-oh.
Oh, gosh.
Hold on. All right. Sand people, they always ride single file to hide their numbers. All right. And on that note,
beautiful.
before they start, they keep laughing at me. You guys have a great night. We will catch you next time with Baseball and Whatever. Peace out, everybody.